It's those habits. Those are my ride or die. My biggest thing for me personally is like self-trust, because it's just like, oh, what if I make the wrong decision or the wrong, and it's just trusting yourself enough to know that like it's safe to like act in alignment. That is the very, very best thing you can do. And even if you get a result that's undesirable, like it's a way that you get to expand and become that better version of yourself. Yeah. So like you can't make a wrong decision, and that takes ton of pressure off. Now you're acting more in alignment. The more you're in alignment, the more you're in flow. The more you're in flow, the more you attract.
Welcome to Remember You. We are so glad you joined us today. Today we have sitting here in our new studio. Thank you for being the first here, Carolyn Litton. She's a former high-achieving loan officer who transformed as a guide into teaching people how to manifest their vision and build even better businesses and lives than they could ever imagine. So by the end of this podcast, she will give you her framework around that and how she manifested the life that she loves living right now, and how you can too by following her instructions or just finding her and working with her. So thanks for joining us today. We love you guys, and this will be a special one.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Love the new studio. This is great.
You're welcome. So tell everybody who doesn't know you and just tuned in, what's your story?
I came from the mortgage industry. So I was a loan officer for, over 20 years. And I loved what I did for a long time. I mean, I helped people achieve the American dream, which is awesome. But I loved working with people. And also at the same time, it's a very high-paced, very demanding industry with obviously a lot of deadlines, and it just came with a lot of stress. So over the course of the years, I felt like I just became really stressed and eventually burned out. So I worked very long hours. People would joke that they would pass by my office at like 10 o'clock at night and they drive by and see my lights still on in my office. And I would eat dinner at like 10:30 at night. And my husband was so patient and just like, okay, here we go again. To pretty much feel like almost like that Groundhog's Day of living, right? To go up, wake up and do it again. So I had this quiet knowing over the course of the years that like I was meant to do something more, but I didn't know what that was. I had no clue, what that was, but I knew I was meant for something more, and it got stronger and stronger and stronger. And finally, I did have that realization, like if I want different results in my life, I have to do something different. So I went through a pattern interruption that basically caused me to change my habits. So that's when everything changed.
So what was the interruption?
I took an intense grit challenge where it required, at least like 2 hours of time every single day. So that wasn't like a sustainable lifestyle, but it got me to think differently. I'm like, okay, well, you can't work this many hours and do the challenge. You have to figure things out.
I've never heard of this. What is it?
It's actually a grit. It's 75 hard is the challenge.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So that was my pattern interruption. And again, that wasn't like a sustainable lifestyle, but I realized like, wow, what else is possible? So then I was thinking like, well, what would be sustainable? What are some other things that I can do, like habits I can change that are sustainable, that like so many of like the most successful people in the world were doing? And like, I also thought like what made me feel good too. So I wanted to incorporate more self-love and self-care, because again, if you have like all the success, but you don't feel good, what's the point? So then I made basically my new lifestyle, my new set of habits. And that's what I call the Vision Project. And I've practiced them ever since. And it's been amazing.
And so what have you seen come out of it since you've been practicing?
So then after I've been practicing those habits, within 1 year, I almost doubled my business while drastically reducing my work hours. So talk about mindset shift, just grind harder, work longer. That's going to make you more money and more success. And that wasn't the case. I expanded a charity that I started to help the homeless, and expanded that and just really got to know myself more. So theoretically, I should have like the perfect life on paper then, right? But then I started feeling that sense of there's something more here. Like this is so profound that like it felt like my calling at that point to share this on a bigger scale. So that came with some heaviness because you're like, okay, that's big, but I felt it so strongly in my heart. And I thought like, that's a huge lifestyle change if I leave my career. Which also, like, at some point really became a huge part of my identity because that's the hat I wore for, that's how everyone knew me. So, yeah, that was a big jump, a big leap of faith. And I'm so grateful that my husband is amazingly supportive. And he's like, I believe in you and I've seen the power of this. He's like, do it. We'll figure it out.
I want to jump back to your nonprofit. Tell us a little bit about that and how you've been able to use manifesting to make it even better. Because I think I read there was like a little bit of a setback that you had first and then you kind of had to go forward with it.
It's funny because like everything really goes hand in hand. Like Hearts for Hope was born of like the same principles really as like the Vision Project, which is if you have a vision, which doesn't always come as like a vision, it's usually a feeling, right? I'm sure you both know that. So I couldn't explain it. I didn't have anyone in my family or whatever who's ever experienced homelessness. It was just something I couldn't explain. I just had a really heavy heart anytime I would pass by someone who was experiencing homelessness. And I just thought, hey, this would be amazing to show people that we care. So one day I just packed up Ziploc bags with my husband and a good friend of mine. And we went to the city and we delivered like 50 bags. And my heart was just so full and all of our hearts were so full. And then thought like, wow, this would be amazing if that felt good for just us. Could you imagine if we got the community involved and did this on a larger scale? So in the beginning, like anything when you get started, of course, it's not perfect. I'm like, where do I go? Where do I deliver these bags? Of course, that was a little challenging. But now it's completely in flow. Like all the volunteers come to us, we constantly are approached by people who need our bags. The funding, everything is in just flow right now. It just comes, right?
So I'll look back at my life. I was a lot like you, where it was like I was grinding. I was doing probably worse things than you. I was working like 90, 100 hours. And I thought, okay, that was how I was proving my self-worth.
Right.
And also, because I was taking action, even though maybe it wasn't the right action, I was working a lot, right?
Yeah.
I was seeing results. I was like dying inside,
Yeah.
And so somebody who's at that point right now, I'm like, obviously we're grateful that we've been out of that, but a lot of our listeners might be like, that's me right now.
Yeah.
What would you say for them to do?
That's why I feel like it all starts with the habit work, because it's easy to say, oh, just think differently or do this differently. But that's hard to do. Yeah. But when you change your habits will start shaping how you think and the decisions that you make. So everyone's on their own journey. So I feel like everyone has, it may look different for everyone. So when you practice my framework is called Vision, Ground, Grow. And that's how you get in flow, which is getting into the flow state. When you can practice basically things of centered around self-development and self-care and slowing down, you have, greater awareness, more mindfulness, you connect to who you are, and you'll start to basically start making different decisions.
To that point. So my mother-in-law just had a knee replacement, and the nurse said, came to our house, told us what to do. And he left, and I said, I'm going to take this from you. So now I'm taking it from you, Corey, the nurse. He said, to make a bad habit, it only takes 9 days. To make a good habit, it takes 56 days.
Okay.
So when you're talking about changing your habits, how would you recommend to your clients and people you work with to keep on that kind of good habit so that you don't fall back to the bad habits?
So one of the books I read early on in my journey was Atomic Habits by James Clear. So that's such a great book. And what I had found is that motivation is fleeting. Really, that's something external. But when you can practice habits that inspire you, that's a game changer. So when they make you feel good, you're more likely to do them. So that's actually why I created, so it's the same habits that changed my life. I created like a 30-day transformation challenge. And I'm like, okay, well, if you make it fun and easy, you're more inclined to do it. So I put all my favorite inspirational podcasts that started my journey, that started to get me to reflect. What do I really want? Who am I? I put all those together in an app along with these like brief meditations. So I have all the steps there. So if you can make it easy and fun, and habit stack too. So a lot of times I would take all my habits of that framework and then I would stack them. So I would, listen to something inspiring while going for a walk outside. I would do a gratitude practice in the morning and then go straight into a quick meditation. So because then you are actually feeling that high vibration emotion of gratitude, and you're just able to meditate that much. Yeah, exactly.
So you're basically saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, that it's like follow these kind of things that make you feel good, change these habits that maybe weren't making you feel good.
Correct.
And then find things to keep kind of stacking on top. So as you interact in your life, whether you decide to stay in your current role or make a big jump like you did, right? You're emanating that out into your life, and then that's kind of coming back.
Exactly. Yep. It's nothing. So I'm very big with like flow and not force. And when you go through these habits, again, it becomes automatic. You start thinking differently, you start behaving differently, start making different decisions, ones that are more aligned with who you truly are. It's amazing.
I want to take it back to a couple of things that you were talking about. Like, okay, so how did you, for people who are stuck in that rut, who need to get out, and then you talked about it's different for everybody, right?
Right.
And for you, it was that 75 hard that like disrupted you. Mm-hmm. And I think the overall arching thing that we can all relate to that broke a pattern was that you got some time to yourself, like a long time.
Yep.
Right. Which is very rare for when you're working and
Correct.
Things and working 12 plus hours a day.
Correct.
Constantly giving, and never like actually giving to yourself. And in ways we give to ourselves in those states to be better, to perform. Not so much to be like better and whole and at peace with ourselves. So as a high performer and putting in all those hours and doing all that work, like I'm sure you were looking at self-development stuff. This was not brand new. We all listen to podcasts, we read books, we follow all those influencers. But what was it about in your state where you were at that said, okay, 75 hard, I want to do this? Because that could have been like the thing, but of course there's like a warm up to it, right? So what was like 75 hard? What was appealing about that for you that made you go into that?
I was to the point, I wasn't actually even doing really very much self-development because I had the mindset that I don't have time for this. I was like grinding so much and I was so tired that I'm like, read whatever, like, what's that? Like maybe when I'm on a beach with vacation. I'm like, so I really did not have very many good habits. I was working, so I didn't even have that. So that was I was curious, like, okay, because I knew the steps, and reading, a self-development book was part of it. So I'm like, okay, now I have to do that. Right. So that was what came into my life that made me think, okay, this could be the thing that will get me different results, because I have to do something different. Like if I keep living my life this way, I'm going to keep getting the same results. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's something in this challenge. I was like curious, inspired. I'm like, okay, let's go with it.
Yeah. And then, so through that unfolding, it was the self-development book was part of
the self-development book. And I'm like, okay, I can do like a little bit every day. So I'm like, so I started, that resonated. And then on 75 Hard, it's consisted of two workouts a day, 75 minutes each, one outdoor, one indoor. And I mean, I would talk about grit, like I was running a marathon at the time, like I was just all the things, but really being outdoors open stuff up for me. So like now I understand that connection to nature and it's so important. And again, when you're the high achiever with the old mindset, you think like if you slow down, you're going to fall behind. Yeah. And then I realized actually no, in slowing down, I was able to speed up. I worked differently. I thought differently. I made different decisions. And that produced better results.
Because, you think about it like the CEO that is, doing the grit, doing the hard grind with their company and their employees. Their employees feel it.
Oh, 100%.
They're making bad decisions because they're not seeing clearly.
Yes.
When you can stop and slow down, then you can kind of say like, okay, this maybe isn't going as fast as I want this to go. But what's holding me back? And, you know, what can I do to slow down, to speed up, like you said?
Yeah.
And then when you start doing that, it really changes your perspective.
Yes.
On what reality really is. Because that CEO and I'm just saying, maybe it was me, who just thinks that pushing, and like, you know, putting carrots in front of people and telling them that they have to do this and putting all this pressure on people.
Sure.
That's just not going to produce results.
Right.
Same results that we want to see in like these in really big, you know, growth stages and things like that. So it's important that I think the listeners understand, you know, how what you were doing was really helping you interact with everybody in your life.
Oh,
and
yeah.
How it changed your perspective, and how even though these people didn't change, do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
The situation changed.
Yes. And I mean, we're only human. We could only take so much when you're working and grinding and not sleeping. Like, we're operating from a state of like stress and survival. So like like you mentioned, you're not making the clearest decisions. But when you slow down, I talk about like the vision, ground, grow method gets you into the flow state. So that's that state of optimal performance where you have clarity, you can focus, you're present, so you can actually listen to your team. And maybe, again, by slowing down and have a clear mind, think of a different solution or a different way to move the needle forward that you couldn't even see before. And like when you were present and calm, again, your team could feel that. That's an energetic state. So like now they feel more safe usually, right? So then if they're feeling safe, they may be inclined to share a thought that they were afraid to share before, right? Because what if I'm not saying the right thing? And now you're like, okay, now that's another possibility. There's just so much that's possible when you slow down and operate from the flow state versus stress and survival.
When you gain that type of understanding where it's like the answers will come to you, right? So it's like you're building faith within the process of
Yes.
life and within yourself,
Yes.
ultimately, right? But when you're taking time for yourself, going back to that like foundational thing where like, people they don't take time for themselves. Like, so it's the workouts, it's going outside, it's getting in nature, it's one touch, it's visualizing, grounding, doing your formula.
Yep.
These things, it becomes a lot less work because you just receive the information. So I think like a lot of people who were in your state and in your state, and I've been there too, but you guys were just on a whole nother level. On that, I went heavy into like going hard on making it easy, right? Just like figuring out this flow state from the get-go.
Yeah.
The understanding that this is like the answers are there and you don't have to push for the answers. You just receive them when you need to receive them. And the inner peace that you gain from that process ultimately helps everybody else
Yes.
much more peacefully, right?
Right.
Or gain more peace in that process. So the formula that we're sharing here and talking about, ultimately, I want to like just bring it out into the highlight of it, is that the faith that you hold and that you created for yourself, you were able to gain far more answers, far more solutions with things that you couldn't push or work through.
Yes.
It's not time and work that equals success.
Right.
It's actually the surrendering
And allowing ideas to come through, releasing control, which high achievers hate doing. And I still like, that's still something that is in my awareness right now too, where I'm still trying to control things that can't be controlled. And we're human, but it's...
I am so I do hypnosis, right? I get a lot of people who want to control everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, I say, okay, so pretend like this is the snake and you're trying to control it. And then you grab it. And like, who's controlling who? And then like, if you just let go, then that goes away.
Yeah.
And we talked about this when we first met. I was really centering around the ultimate expression of strength is surrendering.
Yes.
So it's like in the weight room or in the workout, it's like if you're holding on to the pain,
tight,
the toughness and the pain, the hardness, and how like difficult this is and uncomfortable it is, it's a hell of a lot harder. But when you give into it and also understand that this too shall pass, that this will move on,
right?
You're not going to be doing this all day. And even if you were running all day, you know you're not going to be running for the entire day, or so to speak, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. You have like a David Goggins, and you like just keep on going.
Right.
That surrendering is the ultimate expression of strength, where it's like there is no control.
Exactly. It's an illusion of control anyways. We think we're controlling it, but ultimately, right.
It's this ego is running the show and just
Yep.
trying to tell you that if you don't do this, you're not good enough, or if you do this, you drop the ball and it's not going to work out the way you think it should.
Right.
Which is out of our hands altogether.
Right.
It's interesting because you become this master of, you know, the world that you created by being so successful as a loan officer or as a CEO and running this business. But at the same time, you lose yourself in that process. And that's the ultimate, like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I did all this, and you're not happy, you're not fulfilled.
Yeah. It's like, who are you beneath the achievements and the proving? Like, who really is that person?
Yeah, that's right.
And that's like, woof, right? But when you're disconnected from it, it eventually catches up to you. Whether it like, I'm very grateful that I went through that pattern interruption. I recognize like, ooh, that might be it. But unfortunately, if you don't have that insight, it likely is going to happen through either a job loss, something detrimental, right? A job loss, an illness, something when you're out of alignment, it'll usually eventually catch up.
When you got up to 75 hard, was it like a noticing that you're not who you used to be or not connected with yourself? Was like that something like internally aware within yourself?
I don't know at what point. It wasn't like that epiphany, that aha moment, other than like it started feeling good. So, well, then while I was doing 75 hard, I started thinking like, okay, what are other awesome things that I can add to my life now that I know what else is possible? I don't have to be at that was also my mentality. I thought I had to be at the office for 12 hours, you know, that's a limiting belief. So all these limiting beliefs started surfacing. And then I'm like, okay, what else is possible? Like, what if I try meditation? And gratitude is something that came natural, I think, just because I was so grateful to be out in nature. So then that became a part of the practice. So it was like it's a progression, like this evolution.
It's forever.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
forever.
It's like,
Yes.
The more we realize, the more we
Infinite levels of awareness. And I feel like an infinite level of like expansion and connecting with your true self.
And when you talk about gratitude, like, can you explain to the listeners what the difference is between writing in a gratitude journal and writing then like actually going and doing and feeling gratitude instead of just like having it as another check off or to do?
Right. It's definitely not something just to check off your to-do list, for sure. It's all in the feeling of the gratitude. So I never did a journal. I just noticed myself feeling grateful more often. I'm like, this just feels really good. So I'm like, oh, I think I'm just going to be intentional about it. So I'm like, what a great way to start my morning. So what I would do, it wasn't writing it. I would think of 3 specific things I was grateful for from the previous day. And I always made them. So I made them different. So I'm like, okay, I get to like look for something. And then eventually it became something where I didn't even really put words to. I would actually like picture someone's facial expression, or I would like, it would be a sensory thing, like a sip of coffee or like how the sky looked. And I would just see the picture and I would feel that gratitude in my heart space.
So that's really interesting for the listeners. We've talked to a lot of different people who have talked about gratitude. And so some people are like, they need to feel this in their heart.
Yeah.
Some people say like, you know, I need to write it down.
Sure.
Some people say like this, but you're saying like you're visualizing it. So this is the first time we've had somebody come on and say like, I'm really reliving what I was grateful for yesterday, visualizing it in my brain and body, and then reliving that experience.
Exactly. You're reliving it. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's like the cool thing is like there is no wrong way to see this.
100%.
What clicks with you? You may be more visual. Some other people are more like kinesthetic and like feel, touch. And some people are auditory, like...
Yep, whatever works for you. 100%. That's like, this is not a one size fits all.
Like the being curious, I think, is the universal code.
Yes.
Like all of this, like to figure things out, to dial things in, and like just to be able to go, okay, how does this creation this formula for creation actually work, and how does it tune in? And like, you got to find your own way. I like to speak in a certain way to get my point across that may be different from you or you, but I'm always getting feedback and analyzing this and going curious, what makes somebody click with this versus that? And it's like, I'm doing that with myself first and foremost. And I go back to this time factor because it was a couple of years ago, we went out to the family cabin to spread my uncle's ashes. And so my grandmother was there, her son, she's going to be spreading the ashes. And we got on the boat, we were going out into the lake to go spread them. And she said, there's two things in life that matter. It's alone time and family. And this is an 89-year-old speaking, right? And it's like there's some years and some experience and some wisdom matched up with,
looking back, what really matters.
And I, at 38 at the time, I could look at it and go, that alone time is like the cornerstone to everything that I've worked with clients with, that I've worked with myself with, where it's like, that is the one thing that you cannot, of course, there's too much alone time, like anything else, too much exercise, too much of this or that or the other, but it's like, that alone time is so freaking crucial to be able to visualize, to be able to ground yourself, to get curious with yourself and how this whole thing works and how this whole, what you're creating here. And the nature thing is another thing that you spoke of, like, so you're working 12 hours back in the day, you're in the office all day under artificial light, right? Not exposed to the sun, the most natural source of information and light that is available to us. And it's like, I've spent, when I'm out of the sun, I don't know how you feel about this, but it's like, I feel empty. Like there's something missing. I'm missing some type of like mechanism that keeps me churning and like progressive and growing.
Well, I think that happens with you see that in like seasonal depression, right?
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
Like, most people have that. They just don't know.
They're not connecting.
Yeah.
Sure, they may not know that that's why they're feeling how they're feeling.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So I have a lot of questions for you. So the first one is, if somebody is, how do you talk to people on how to, let me think about how to say this, how to have aligned actions for something to flow to you versus just having your vision and assuming that it's going to come to you?
Are you saying basically like how do they connect to their vision?
Yeah, so
like,
say they have, I'll just
vision and action, like how much?
Yeah, I'm going to use this podcast as an example.
Okay, yeah.
So pretend like I had this visualization. I'm going to have this podcast and I'm going to have guests that help my audience learn how to manage their energy.
Okay.
And whether that's in work, life, whatever, but they're going to really learn how their energy is magical and all this stuff.
Okay.
I have it very like visualized out. I have it really written out as like a dream. I'm going to do this for whatever.
Okay.
And then I don't do anything because I'm taught that it just comes to me. And then I get frustrated because.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay. So I'll answer that, but I'm going to kind of tell you my approach. So when I first start working with people, I think a lot of people think like they either aren't connected to what it is that they truly desire, or they think they know, but it's coming from like the intellect and the logical, analytical part of the brain. So that to me sounds like, okay, like this sounds like a good idea, right? Like I like this idea and here's how it could go, but you don't do anything, right?
Yep.
So my approach is like, let's come in with like a clean slate. Like, and maybe that idea like is there, but like, let's come in with a clean slate. And I'll ask people to reflect on like 6 different domains in life, so like purpose and well-being and all of that.
So it's holistic.
Holistic, right. So then I'll ask them to contemplate that. And really, like, I'll do a lot of guided meditations because I feel that when you can come out of the analytical mind into the heart space and see what comes to you is really powerful. So when people, like, sometimes they'll write a ton of things down, sometimes maybe just only in a few categories, but I invite them to, okay, just sit with that, set the intention of connecting from your heart space with what truly matters. So this is really cool. So then they'll do that. And then I've had a client like reach out saying like, it was like a week and a half later, it was like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden, like after a walk, because then I explain after you set that intention, you go through the other parts of the process. Go for your walk, do a meditation. I'm like, I promise you, if you keep doing that, you set the intention and you do the other two pieces, which is grounding and growing every day, it will come to you. Well, then it's different. So once, like, now there's that fire lit up. Now it's like, it's really, truly who they are. And I feel that, I mean, my clients, they take inspired action at that point. Like, it doesn't feel like force. Like, they're excited to. So if that makes sense. So it's like, it's doing that habit work and connecting from that space of the heart space and not the intellect. It makes a big difference.
So basically you're saying like, okay, I planned out this podcast. I said, I have to do these recordings on this day. I've got to do this. And then I end up doing, like, maybe I show up for the recordings, but like nothing ever gets launched or, whatever. But now you're saying with your process, you're like, okay, wait, we're going to erase all.
Right.
Maybe that is the right thing for you. Maybe it's not.
Right.
But like, let's look at your whole life. But where's your purpose? Where are you kind of bogging down?
Right.
And then do these steps, visualization, get with nature, learn. And then you kind of connect with yourself and you can have your vision become even better.
Exactly.
And then you start showing up saying, okay, yeah, I got to record the podcast, but now the people are just coming to me.
Yes.
And I'm excited to send this over to the editor.
Correct. You're in a different energetic place.
Yeah.
Completely. And what I also found out is, like, if you're not taking action, it could also be that there's some type of limiting belief there, right? So then when you stay connected to your vision of what you really want and you ground every day and you grow, you learn something new every day, those beliefs will surface, which is awesome, because once they surface, they no longer have power over you. But it's through the habit work that this just like automatically happens, which is super cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So my other question was around vision, but you kind of answered it. Is there anything else that you help people work through with their vision? Because I know I work with a lot of people who come to me and be like, I don't even know what I want in my life.
Right.
Like, I just go to work every day and I have to take care of my kids and put food on the table. And I have these things I need to do, and like asking me to do a vision. All I know right now is like my purpose is to just get through life, Right. So somebody like that, would they even be ready to work with you?
So I would say that's the 30-day challenge. Even if you don't know what that vision is, you listen to these. I mean, they're my favorite thought leaders and inspiring people. You listen to a podcast from a different perspective of different things in life every day. You go out for a walk every day and you slow your mind for 5 minutes and do a 5-minute meditation every day. You connect to it. It will reveal itself. 100. That's why it's the challenge that changed my life. It's changed all my clients' lives. It feels like magic. So if you stay the course, it'll come to you.
Okay.
These things are so overlooked, like the simplicity
of
going for a 5-minute walk. Like, I've had clients who was like, going for a walk is like pulling teeth, because it's like you're pulling them out of the work and the thing that they think they need to do and the control aspect.
Yep.
And it's like, it's such a barrier for people, but it's so simple at the same time. Yet,
and that's a pattern. That's a pattern interruption. You're taking something they're so comfortable from, like, always being at their desk, to like, I'm going to shake it up for a little bit. Go out for a while, like, see what happens. Because if you, again, it's from that comfort, we stay in that same, loop of thought pattern. Yeah. And we can't think differently.
And to that point too, it's like, I've been doing it. I've been like, I still have like to have my like stuff that I do. I have clients, so I have to keep a schedule, right? But it's like there's something about just saying, I'm going to get up and go for a walk, just get that fresh air, or do something for myself. And what I notice is, even if I'm late on like responding to an email, or I didn't answer everybody's text messages that came through this today, or whatever, most people don't care, and it's still there tomorrow.
Absolutely. And think about it, like, your response is going to be way different when you're coming from like a calmer, centered place. Right. Reality. So even like, what's valued more, like the time proximity, or just like, hey, wow, I felt the quality, right? It's quality over immediacy.
Yeah. And I think that's what's wrong with our current society. So people who aren't in this kind of circle of preserving their energy, figuring out what their limiting beliefs are, living more in love versus fear. And there's a lot of people that still in our society live in a lot of fear. How do you kind of take a step back out of that and then bring that quality forward and start realizing that, like, it's okay. I don't need to answer every Snapchat, answer every message, answer every email, I don't have a checklist of things that I need to do every day, but it's hard when you're in that. So I think it goes back to your challenge.
Yep, it goes back. It's when I made those habits a priority, everyone's on a different journey and they're going to have different epiphanies at different time, but like they will come to that realization themselves. Like, oh, it's not critical to answer immediately within seconds. I would rather have that quality response, and people can feel energy. So, and and that's why I would love to see more of these practices in leadership, because think about it, when the CEOs, when the managers are operating from this state of presence and not such urgency, the results are so much better. Your team works better. You're more collaborative. You're more creative, where there's just so many benefits. But
So we started up this thing called Practice Peace, and it's a program that we bring into companies that we've been working with leadership. And once a week, they join a virtual immersive relaxation program, and they can bring whoever they want. This camera's off. I give them a little like, hey, this is what we're doing today. Here's a little exercise we're going to do. And then we go into like a meditation visualization from the exercise.
So good.
And it's mostly hypnosis. Sometimes people don't want to hear that it's hypnosis. So depending on what kind of culture they have, we kind of...
Sure.
Did we
change the verbiage?
And what we've noticed with our pilot company that started in November of last year and has since continued to renew, that they are making like 30% more profit than they did the year before. Their employees are showing up happier. They did have like a few things where their employees, a few key employees got really sick. But it was we kind of talked about it, and what we think was it was people finally settling down their nervous system and like relaxing a little bit, and their body was like, oh, like this, I don't know what to do.
Unfamiliar with it. It was sure.
We've been seeing like huge improvements, and to your point, more and more companies need to be doing this with their employees, and the employees are like, please don't take this wellness perk. It's the best wellness perk I've ever had, because they normally have to go and seek this out themselves. And let's just face it, we don't have time to go.
Right. But you make it easy and available to people. I mean, talk about improving company culture. Your turnover rate goes way down. I mean, you have, your employees are happier. And of course, they're going to be more productive as well when they feel better.
Yeah.
I think there's a statistic I recently read that across corporate, like the cost of burnout is like somewhere to the tune of, they estimated like $325 billion.
That's right.
It's insanely high.
Yeah.
And it's just like everything you're just talking about right here. And it's a top-down approach.
Yeah.
Like managers and executives, if they start to actually calm themselves down, and awareness about themselves. I mean, you have these people who can pull the levers and push the buttons, but now they're doing it out of like a state of flow and a state of like inner worth.
Yep.
That's no longer like production, numbers and these things that dictate my worth, but understanding who I am and what I am, and this like because they're already hyper aware coming into this. You had to be able to get to that level.
Sure.
But now you're starting to direct it within yourself in a whole different way.
Yes.
It's literally this like wax on, wax off type approach that it's like, oh, wow. You don't actually have to practice the very move that you thought you had to create the result you want.
That's
yes.
It's interesting too. It's like, it's something that, okay, so you bring in these, these wellness perks and these different things, right? But and then, people want to check the box off a lot of times, but it's like, to me, it's an ongoing journey in our life. And so it's like, maybe you come and do a 30-day reset with you every year, because we change.
Yes.
And the situations that we're in change. And so you can really easily slip back into what feels safe and right to you, even though maybe it's a limiting belief.
Right.
So it's like, do you work with a lot of people on how to keep that going so that they don't kind of slip
back? And that's why I created like the mentorship program. So it's like we connect weekly. And in the Vision Ground Grow category, that would be grow. So I would, cover different topics, new perspectives that would help people feel better and just it's supportive in their lives. And then it keeps them in the container and inspired to do the work because it feels good. Like so many people have said, like, I actually enjoy my walks. Like I look forward to them now. And almost everyone resists them in the beginning, for sure, including myself. I was just like, but at some point you realize like how good you feel and that becomes addictive. So it's just like, I want to do it. And then again, your habits will start to transform you. So, or people would pick their favorite thing. So maybe they're not doing all of the steps, but they stuck with their gratitude practice or, But when you're in a container and you have that accountability, that helps a lot.
So you do retreats?
And I do retreats as well. And that's, talk about a perfect way to completely unplug and be in a different setting. So you're away from, it's a totally new environment. Yeah. You're away from all the stressors. It's not in front of you, your computer, your family, and all the responsibility. It really is such a beautiful way to reconnect to who you truly are. Yeah, being in this environment. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the retreats and what people do?
Sure. Each one was a little bit different, but it's basically the concept is, setting the intention, like why did you come here? What is it? What do you want? And just we really curated a beautiful container to just allow people to just be themselves and be seen. And we see each other and just, oh gosh, there's been so many breakthroughs and like everyone's is different and at different times, but it's really just being in a space, connecting with nature. So we've done one in Costa Rica, Guatemala, and Bali. So there's definitely nature components. They're all areas with really beautiful energy that's like conducive to getting to know yourself deeper. We're very playful too, because we want to like, if you make it fun. So we play like little games where again, limiting beliefs come up or just patterns come up. Like, oh gosh, I never really thought about things that way. But we do it in a very playful, fun manner. And it's great. And then we incorporate the culture too. Because like, if you're traveling across the world, like, let's have fun and immerse yourself. So it's a very interesting, I've never seen anything, like I've never gone to a retreat like that before. It's a combination of all that.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, I'm going to go on a meditation retreat.
Or a yoga retreat. Yeah, it's like, I mean, we've brought yoga in, but like, a couple of days during the week. But it's not just that. Like there's so much more. It's like playful, fun, exploratory, being in nature. It's pretty cool.
So being as like coaches and guides, it's like you're practicing what you preach every single day. Like your passion. This is what you do all the time.
Yes. It's not a one and done. No, it's a constant.
This is always a thing. So like, what are your current practices right now that have built over the years, learning about yourself, what works, obviously helping other people, because there's always, it's cool because you get a client who may have a certain situation that you've never dealt with, but you get curious about how to help that client through that process that helps you. Like, what are your current practices right now that you're like really solid on?
So I take it like the habits, that 30-day transformation, that's not just a one-time thing. So those are my habits every single day. And just by doing those habits, something new every day or, every week will reveal itself. Like, oh man, I didn't realize that was holding me back, or some type of limiting belief. Without fail, it's those habits. Those are my ride or die. Like my biggest thing for me personally is like self-trust, because it's just like, oh, what if I make the wrong decision or the wrong, and it's just trusting yourself enough to know that like it's safe to like act in alignment. That is the very, very best thing you can do. And even if you get a result that's undesirable, like it's a way that you get to expand and become that better version of yourself. So like you can't make a wrong decision, and that takes ton of pressure off. Then it's like, then now you're acting more in alignment. The more you're in alignment, the more you're in flow. The more you're in flow, the more you attract. And like, it's awesome. But I feel like just doing those habits, the vision, ground, grow. So the vision is stay connected to your vision, which I do through vision boards. But this is cool because that helps keep you in alignment too, because all of a sudden, if your vision, like something's not lighting you up anymore, that's cool. Like you knew like, okay, I've expanded, or this doesn't light me up anymore.
Just because it isn't in your life physically.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And it's telling, like that's telling if it's like on your vision board, that's not lighting you up. And at the same time, you're activating your subconscious for the good. Obviously our subconscious could, sabotage us, correct. But like also we can totally leverage that too. So I feel I make decisions differently and based on like staying connected to my vision every day. So grounding, obviously like gratitude, going for a walk and meditating every day, and again, I'm very like, it's a system. So it doesn't have to take a lot of time, I guess is what I'm saying. Like it's something that's felt. So it's not just checked off. Right. I can feel it, but that's a limiting belief to think you need like 5 hours to do this. You don't. It's just the consistency. And then grow, and I keep learning. So I'm always reading new books, listening to new podcasts, and it's usually from that combination, listening to something new, out on a walk, boop, limiting belief surfaced. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, and the podcasts are good, because you're not scrolling on social media or something like that. Like you're listening to something, and then when someone says something that maybe you're like, ooh, I don't agree with that, or that hit me the wrong way, then that's like how you grow.
Yes.
Because you're sitting there thinking like, why was I so triggered by
yes,
this?
Exactly. Right.
And if you're not in a good spot, maybe you get triggered and then you're off on social media talking about like how mad you are. But if you're in a good spot.
Right. You're curious. Like, why did that trigger me?
What was that?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I like that. And I think you've said it a few times and it just clicked in my mind. So thank you.
With everything you got going on, how do you integrate this information into your life? Is it usually audible, or is it like you're reading books, or are you listening while you walk?
Now it's usually audible. Sometimes I used to start out physically reading, but now I really do enjoy listening while I'm out for a walk. And when I'm driving in the car, or when I'm getting ready in the morning, so mostly audible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that I find that with myself, but I think it's the same thing with you. Like there's just always a constant input, and it's a chosen input.
Yes.
Where it's like this information comes in the form of food, it comes in the form of conversation, it comes in the form of content. Mm-hmm. And it's like this constant input of information is the hack to create the output you want.
Exactly.
You can look at this output that you have around you and you're not satisfied with it. You can revert it and go, did you eat?
Yeah.
Did you eat like shit the day before? Yeah, you're probably going to have a shitty output the next day.
Yes, right.
Same thing with the information.
Yes, same thing with information. So your thoughts are so important, because whatever you're thinking, as you know, like usually that will elicit some type of emotion, and that also affects the actions that you take. So if you are putting positive input in, then you start thinking differently. And ultimately, like when you said like, oh my gosh, why did that trigger me? When you can, let those limiting beliefs come to surface, again, now you're free of the option to decide
how you're going to act and what the next step.
Yeah, because your beliefs are shaping everything.
Yeah.
The decisions that you make and the reality that you create.
We become what we think about most of the time.
Yeah.
It's really simple. But then it's like you're expecting a different result, the stress or the frustration or the not having or whatever it is. And it's like that's actually reiterating the very experience that you're having.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sure.
You got any book recommendations for us?
Oh, so many. So many. So I love the book Do You Quantum Think by Diane Collins. Okay. So again, just my journey of the Vision Ground Grow got me into all sorts of like metaphysical stuff and consciousness. And I'm like, oh, I love that. I can eat that up. So anytime I can get a new perspective is powerful. It's a long book. So, but there's so many awesome perspectives that really support me to this day. So that is really cool.
The field, but with Lynn, I don't remember what her last name was, but it was.
Ooh, okay.
It was good. It was about like how consciousness evolved and
Okay.
brought in all the. It was very scientific. In the way that it was saying, like, if you look at all the quantum biology, quantum physics, there's all these things that aren't accepted in the mainstream.
Right.
If you really look at this and ask the questions, we can understand that there really is a 0 point energy.
Yes.
And we've had that energy before. So now how do you harness that energy?
Yes.
And so, yeah, it was good.
So good.
So going down these rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And like,
Let's go.
Yeah, the first thing you're talking about, like digging into the metaphysical and all that type of stuff, which is like the closer to, I guess, what I would describe as reality, like more than just this physical state. What is, like, I could think of some, like, just as of today, like having these signs and these like, oh, right, this is what's going on, or you're going down the right rabbit hole. The way I describe it is like being that it's Easter or get close to it. It's like I look at life as an Easter egg hunt. Like,
Oh, I love
like,
that.
yourself is always leaving these
Yep.
Easter eggs along the way, just to be like, okay, and this is why being curious instead of trying to control is so key, because it's like a childlike curiosity of like, okay, where's that next Easter egg? Okay, is that okay? Now let me look at that, and you start going down another rabbit hole. You're following your excitement.
Yes.
throughout the whole process.
Yes. Leaning into your intuition. That's your guidance from your higher self to live like your best timeline and your best life.
So workaholic, Carolyn,
Yeah.
versus who you are now.
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference now, and like, what is life like now versus what it was like back then? Like, were you completely blind?
Oh gosh, yes, 100%. Like if you would have had this conversation with me then, I totally over my head. I'd be like, what are you talking? Metaphysical consciousness. Like what is, but that's how cool. Like I had zero exposure to any of this, but just that like reading a little bit every day, learning that, like listening to a podcast, I'm like, wow, there is a whole other world out there, and I'm creating my own reality. So yeah, I may as well pick one that serves me. Right. Like, I mean, it all goes down to beliefs, right? Like whether you, I mean, basic Henry Ford, you know, if you think you can, you think you can't. You're right. So, but like the more I understand about like consciousness and the power within ourselves, and realizing on that Easter egg hunt that I found the egg, and before I would have been like, why is this happening to me? And then you're like, oh, wait, hold on. Like I can actually look at it now, as uncomfortable as it may be, to be like, ooh, higher self left that for me as a way to expand and to grow into that person, back to, or become that person who I know I truly am. Yeah.
That personification of higher self, and like even just with like health, with money, with like any type of aspect, you call them, those are the 6 things that you assess with your clients.
Oh, like different domains of life or sectors, or yeah.
Personify.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what the Bible does, right? Like they personify a consciousness. It's not so much like an individual person or like a real life character, although it could have been or is, but it's like the personification of your higher self. And like actually envisioning who she is, what she looks like, and what her personality is, like that relationship that you have.
Yeah.
It's easy to kind of relate that human, like, okay, we have these relationships. We're all one. It's all
Right.
just one unison. We can get into that.
Oh, yeah.
Up into the clouds.
Don't get me started.
I know, right? Like, but I love. That's another episode. Yeah.
We could do that. But like this personification of all these domains, and you get what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like developing that like relationship. Now you're hearing communication without even words. It's just like, it's the guiding system. Like,
Yep. The
go
guidance.
there to find the Easter egg.
Yep.
I think something interesting that I'll add a little story on to just kind of talk to your limiting beliefs, but also that how magical we are as people, and we shut that off. So I found a training class for my son. He's 12. And I follow a lot of podcasts and watch a lot of things and educate myself every day like you do. And at first they all thought I was weird. I was like, hey, I found this thing called Luminous Kids. and you put a blindfold on and you learn to see by using different senses.
Okay.
Your eyes.
Okay.
And they're like, and my son was like, hey, that's cool. It sounds like Spider-Man or Superman, like metaverse training. So like, this is awesome. I'll do it. So we went through, it's awesome. I highly recommend it. Luminous Kids. We went through this blindfold training and they put this thing called a mindfold over their eyes.
Okay.
And they do these eye exercises.
Okay.
And you start with big pieces of like paper, and people at first, they have these limiting beliefs. So they think these kids have to be like peeking through this mindful, right? But I put it on and I was like, it's black. Like there's a little light, but you can't see.
You can't see.
And so like they start putting the papers up, and these kids within like the first session, they're anywhere from 5 to 13.
Okay.
Start getting the colors right. And as it progresses, as the weeks progress, they start to be able, especially the young kids, and I'll tell you what the limiting belief is, they start to be able to see flashcards and read the flashcards. And then you can, so my son and I were practicing, and he was able to get the colors. I could walk out of the room, pick a color on the other side, and he learned how to sense, like almost remote viewing.
Okay.
What was going on, and he could pull the color 99% of the time.
Wow. So you can't argue with those odds. Like that's not luck.
No, and so then I was like, all right, this is like really cool. And so he as long as I asked him, I said, what are you doing that's like making you know the color? And he's like, well, when I first started, I could like, it was like I could see it in my hands. So he would touch the paper.
Okay.
He would see it in his hand, the color in his hands. But then he goes, and then like as it was getting farther away, the color just came to me because I was like tuned in. I was like wanting to know what color it was. And so I just was like, what color is it? And then like I could see a flash of it, and that was like what it was.
Wow.
And I was like, oh man. So then one day, because it was during the winter, they said, hey, the instructor said, hey, go out into the sun and do the exercises and put your blindfold on or whatever. And you have a better activation.
Okay.
And so I was like, all right, we had like a nice day. So I went out there and I put the blindfold on. I had him come with me, and I was like, I want to try this. So we did the eye exercises. I put it on, and I'm not kidding you. It was like he was holding up the paper. The only one I couldn't get was white. And so every one I was getting it. It literally just, it's like a flash in your mind.
Okay.
You have to trust yourself. It's kind of like what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like trust yourself that what your intuition is telling you is the right thing to do, and don't second guess it.
Got it.
And then it's also like we've been told to shut off all these senses, and we've been told like you can only see with eyes, you can only hear things with your ears. Like we have all these other senses that we're not tapped into. So retreats like you hold, things that can nature, different things that you can do to overcome these limiting beliefs. Because what happens is that kids that have the parents that think this is stupid, most of them don't think that, but if they are,
they grow up believing.
Yeah. And even the blindfold thing, it's like if the kid's like being told you're cheating, they're going to start to shut that off.
Right.
And so it's just that whole long story was more to be like, hey, there's so much more to life that we're not being taught.
We can encourage that and bring that forth. And that's why this is awesome that you're, hosting podcasts like this. Like what else is possible? What else is out there that is not mainstream?
Yes. And and our kids go to these schools most of our children go to schools that are not teaching this.
Right.
We're not talking about metaphysical. We're not talking about quantum physics. I mean, until you get way far, and even then, it's still kind of looked at as pseudoscience.
Right.
And so it's like my next question really to you is like, you're kind of fighting that uphill battle. I think it's getting to be more mainstream
now.
Like how do you handle that of like really having people buy in, or do they just come to you?
So I've attracted. So all the clients that I've had, I've attracted through speaking or through a referral. So I haven't encountered that, but I completely understand what you're saying. Like, I would love to see this mainstream and have every employer offer this to their employees, schools to have this incorporated. Like, what's your vision? Get into the feeling, like that, how important that is. So yes, I do agree with you. But in terms of like clients, it's been all like I've attracted. So they're already, it's an energetic recognition, I would say. So most of my clients have been in the yoga space or have done some type of spiritual work or self-development work, but it didn't quite click, or they felt like they got stuck or plateaued. And they all said like, wow, there was something. And I love it. A lot of times they're like, I can't explain it. Like you can explain it, words don't teach, only life experiences teach. And this is something that they experience, and it's going to look different. Everyone's journey is different. It's the same framework, but they'll get different results and different breakthroughs at different times.
Because they're finding their Easter eggs.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone has different Easter eggs hidden in different places. Exactly.
I think about that it's always been there, right? It's just not popular. Like some Neville Goddard back in the 50s, he was preaching this, and then people way before that. I mean, this is literally in the Bible.
Oh, yes.
Literally everything we're talking about here has just been filtered through a control mechanism, which has actually caused a lot of separation from this, because people are picking up and going, something's fucked up here. It doesn't align.
Yep.
There's something. I was one of those. I was just like, it's weird. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense, because they're saying it brings peace, love, and harmony. I see the complete opposite, and this is how. But now, like through Neville Goddard, it like completely opened up my eyes to go, oh, like this is what it meant. This makes sense.
Yeah, it
like
was
a whole different translation. So it's like it goes back to, you talked about like you can't describe it because words limit the experience. Mm-hmm. And based on my definitions of the words versus your words, you can say something and goes crazy, and somebody could be like, "Oh, that's bad." Like,
right.
Fuck yeah, let's talk. So that's awesome.
It's
crazy's great, right? Yeah.
So it's
Everyone
like
assigns a different
these definitions of things, and then it's on the eye of the beholder, right? Or who's hearing this. And when you start to just take everything on as just going back to this, like everything is here for us to create and to absorb and to reflect upon, to go, okay, if it triggered me, that's on me. That's not on you.
Right.
And I for the viewers here, like I love this. I was just brought to me a couple of weeks ago where it was like, for every finger that's pointing at you, there's
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, oh, that's short. Right? So it's like, it literally just physical
Extreme
representation.
responsibility. Yes. I love that. The
It's
three
like,
pointed
right?
back. I love that.
So, because it was always like, yeah.
I'm stealing that.
That is good.
I know,
That's
right?
good. Yeah, I love that.
So it's just like, I think of guys, I took my son to go see the Kanye West documentary because we both like his music.
Uh-huh.
And I love what he is about, because of the extreme belief in his ability to create. And like he's so passionate about it to the point where like what he's appearing on is coming off angry. But what he's trying to do is drill it into your fucking head that this is how powerful you are. And so Michael Jordan came off as an asshole. Kanye West came off as crazy and an asshole. Like all these people had a delivery mechanism that was like so extreme and so like brash and polarizing.
Yeah.
And you think about anybody who's gotten to that level, you had to be that to get to that level.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Correct. Like
Strict and abrasive and not giving a fuck what people think, because you know if you do this, it's going to get the result.
100%.
Not in line, you got to get out. Mm-hmm. And so like this approach of like I run a networking group, and it's like if I do one thing completely out of alignment with what the order of operations are, there's always somebody who comes in and goes, a caring. And like it's just given like a level of
We're both like, ah.
He loves you networking.
yes, I love you guys. By the way. Yes. But it's just like the less fucks you give and the order of operations. I made the call because I trusted in my gut and my heart, and I don't need to explain it, because ultimately my intentions are to bring everybody together and for everybody to win.
Yeah.
And if you're not seeing that, I got to look at myself always. I always have to reflect and go, okay, Where could I do better? Where could I optimize? How could I do this thing? Right. But it's always this like this certainty within yourself to the point of the Luminous Kids, where it's like you got to be willing just to go out there and start training and get dirty and get be misinterpreted, misunderstood, and like you're the conduit for other people to go, oh damn, she can do it, then I could do it. And then it's like this is how it just picks up over time. Now it's like it is becoming more popularized.
Yeah, what totally stood out too is like it's amazing how conditioned people are, right? You stray a little bit, like, oh my gosh, wait a minute, this isn't how it is. It's like so many people, it's just like this is how it's always been, and this is my comfort zone. And back to the Kanye example, you do almost have to be delusional of I am the greatest and this will happen. Regardless of what's showing up right now, I am not letting that deter me. So when I say delusional, I mean like depending on how you interpret the world, be like, oh, that person's going crazy, or like, no, I refuse to allow what's showing up right now stop me from being to the top. But you have to have that extreme, passionate conviction that I win, and no matter what, I win. I may be bruised and I may, grow from this, but like I get to come up on top.
And like this is a thing like in the world we're talking about with metaphysical and spiritual and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it does not pull away from the obsessiveness that you're used to in this corporate world or in this high achiever world. Like, in fact, you're actually more obsessed.
Oh, 100%.
You're more insanely tuned in to something and more certain about what it is that you do. And you can come off like really intense that I think that world is actually looking for.
Yeah.
But it's like, you got to you can't always come in and just like breaking down doors, right?
Right.
Like, okay, I'm going to level with you guys. And like, when you're over, I'm a normal person. Really, I'm not though.
I lived that normal life, and now there's so much that I know what is possible. Yeah.
I think too, you want to pull people. So some people who have like, I don't want to piss anybody off listening to this, but some people who have like open minds. And are learning a lot.
Right.
I want to open other people's minds. So like, I'll start talking about weird, quote unquote, weird stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then they're just sitting there looking at me like, that's not normal. Like, why are you talking about that right now? Like, this is weird. But that I'm hoping that as I'm talking to them, or if you're changing the way something's done, they reflect a little bit.
Right.
Say like, oh, well, what did I learn from that? Or what was she talking about? Maybe I do want to go.
Opened up some curiosity. Yeah, some curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I relate to is like, there was things all the way from growing up where I was like, I was made fun of for doing something or acting in a certain way. And it was like, you get conditioned through that. Not like, I didn't let that conform me. I was like, even if it swayed me or made life hard for a period of time, I still pushed forward and did my own thing.
Yeah.
And I still
that's amazing. Right? Yeah, but not everyone has. Right.
Like my mom, she was intuitive medium from ever since I've known her, right? My dad, he's a musician and just did his own thing. He was always telling me to do your own thing and continue to do that. So I always had that push.
Yes.
Right. So, but a lot of people, they're coming from, you're trying to break the system. Growing up Catholic, right? You had this very certain way of doing things, but we have all had to disrupt.
Well, it's interesting.
Pattern.
It's interesting because when I was going through my divorce, I went to like an intuitive, like, I don't know, you want a psychic?
Yeah.
And he basically told me, like, you live in a box right now. Mm-hmm. Like, you checked off all the boxes. I can see like this, you could be happy in that box if that's where you stay. But you have all these dreams and aspirations, and your spirit guides are like really close to you saying, go do this.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, I was like, okay, that's what I needed to do. And I had to hear like, you need to break out of the box of what society is telling you to do, to have that white picket fence, the dog, the 2 kids, the good job, stable job, the 401k. Yeah. And I listened and I went and did it.
I think all of us. Yeah.
Now you gotta be willing to break free from the matrix, quote unquote, and just be willing to just get dirty and scrape up. And
Right.
out. Like that mentor said, that you gotta burn the world.
Yeah.
Or start to like regrow it. And it's like, you gotta be willing to sacrifice it all.
Yeah.
I love the idea of like when I start to get into Neville and like the Bible and understanding like the crucifixion and like what it really is. It's like, you gotta be willing to let go of that old.
The old version of you, your old identity, to step into who you truly are. So remembering who you are.
For some people, it's like, okay, burnout, right? And it's not catastrophic, but it's like you're picking up something's off.
Right. And that's why I feel like paying attention to your emotions is so important. Your emotions are how, like that, if for any of you Abraham Hicks people, your emotions are your guidance system. And that's awesome when you said when you went to the intuitive and you mentioned, being outside the box, like it probably wasn't in your brain, your heart felt it. You're like, oh yeah, like that it's a feeling inside of you. So if you're feeling heavy, don't look at that as something bad. When you're triggered, it's not bad. Like, what is this telling about me? What is there that's not truth here? And then you get to know yourself more deeply. And I think there's infinite levels of that too.
And I think too, for people, they think like truth is right or wrong, good or bad. And that we do a whole podcast on this, but I think just to understand that truth is
your truth. Yes.
And it's not the same as Carolyn's truth or Justin's truth.
Right.
That's different for me. It's in here.
Yes. 100%.
And we're taught to not listen to that, to listen to this.
Right.
Well, this to me,
and here's what society thinks, and this is what is viewed as successful, and this is what's viewed as good and bad versus what's your truth, what's true in your heart, and speaking your truth. And there's
we all got to go through like everybody's playing a role in my play.
Yes.
Right. Like each and every one of us is like, I created you.
Yeah.
Show and reflect something within me to have this play interact. And
Correct.
Vice versa and vice versa.
Yeah.
And it's like this. I mean, I had an experience in Costa Rica where I had a moment where I was by myself in the jungle and I was looking up at the sun, and I just had this connection where it was like, this is all a game. Like this whole thing. It's like not to be taken serious, but played serious. Like Bruce Lee says. It's like,
love it.
I welcome anything extreme because it's like, I want that shit. I don't want lukewarm. Like
that's a great, yes. I want to live life. I want to experience life. I don't want to
it's just like
coast. Yeah. Like I want to experience life.
Risk takers. You're like, that's who shapes the world. That's who creates things. And it's like, that's the thirst and the curiosity that fuels.
So good.
You just like, now you start to, you can see the depth in anything, from the depth of this chair to the conversation, to the energy, to a workout, to the, whatever it is. And it's like, what I've found is when you become more aware, you attract more awareness. So it's like, now this is not a superficial conversation. This is like, oh, now we can start to get into the threads of this tapestry, be able to like shape it and mold it the way we want now. And it just like, it elevates you in so many ways. So now we walk out of this podcast and it's just like, everything else is
yes, right? I mean, can't you just like feel the energy? Yeah, it's so great. You start to feel alive. Like how many people are just going through life and just not feeling alive. Yeah. And we're meant to be creators. So if you have a very analytical, logical job, or you're a caregiver, and that's fine. Like I understand, and find a way to creatively express yourself. Like, what is it that you like? Do you like to paint? Do you like to garden? Do you like to, what is that? And then again, that just like opens the door, right? And then you start to
let's a little
experience it. What's that light in? Yeah.
What was yours like? Cause so being a loan officer and running that business and doing that, like did you always have a vehicle for creation?
Really didn't, which is why I felt so stuck. Though I will say I started, actually before I did my pattern interruption, I did start running marathons. And now that I think of it, it's so funny because like you're either a runner or you're not a runner. And if you're not a runner, people are like, why? Like, why do you run? Like, I'm not running unless someone's chasing me. Fair. I get that. And they're like, well, like, what do you think about? I mean, a marathon, like you're running, 26.2 miles and training for it. They're like, don't you get bored? And I think that was my kind of almost like escape. Like, wow, I love that I don't have to think right now. And I don't think I was into podcasts yet, but I would just listen to music. And sometimes I wouldn't even listen to music. I would just be. So that was it. That was running.
So this thing, like, there's with every high achiever, like you have to be obsessed in order to get to that level. So it's like you probably were obsessed with marathon running.
Yeah.
In a sense, right?
I did one, then I ended up doing 5. Yeah.
It's
So
like,
yeah, kind of.
It's a full throttle.
Right.
in
Yeah.
whatever it is you do, right? So
Now I want to beat my PR.
this is where people like, the ADHD is a superpower movement that's gone.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it really is like you're just you're hyper aware of all these things, but then you get really like tuned in and obsessed about 3 things.
Yeah.
And they all enhance one another.
Yeah.
Otherwise you wouldn't do it. And so it's like, but then when you see that this thing is costing that, now you're like, I got to find something else.
Yep.
I got to do something different because it's no longer working.
Yes, I totally relate to that. Because actually, when I was doing marathons, I originally was like, I want to run one marathon like in every country in the world. Like that was my dream. That was before I created the Vision Project. And then actually, I had a YouTube channel at one point, and I did an episode about like when quitting isn't quitting, because I realized my journey to explore the Vision Project and manifestation and creating this life, that was my new obsession and focus. And that's fun. But I went through a whole thing, was like, oh, that was my goal and I didn't do it and I stopped. I'm not running anymore. And oh my gosh,
it goes back to what we already talked about with like your life changes.
Right. And that's okay. Right.
Like, so I was obsessed with running and I was obsessed with working out, and it was almost to the detriment though, because it was setting me back sometimes, and I wasn't understanding that.
Okay.
I had my hip replaced, so I stopped.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And now I realize, like, yeah, okay, maybe I can go back and ease back into exercising, but I don't have to take it to that extreme. And
sure.
That's not where I am in my life.
Right. That's when we were in very proving energy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I want to go and do like some strength training down in the basement and then go for a walk.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not going for a 12-mile run, but does that serve me anymore?
Right.
And for me right now, that question is no, it doesn't. Right. So it's very important to follow again that like, you can go on like I have bad ADHD. I can go on all my like journeys, right? But as listeners here, find what is in your heart that will make you happy, right? And follow it. And it would be different in 3 weeks.
And that's okay. Exactly. I think we're a lot of times conditioned to think that like you're giving up or quitting. And if it doesn't have that passion, it doesn't ignite something in you, then maybe it served its time, it served its purpose, and now something else will better serve you. But so again, trusting yourself on and honoring that.
Yeah, there's a period of time where it's like if you're abandoning too many ships, then it's like you're confusing the whole process. So there's like a razor's edge difference between letting go of things
that don't serve you,
or being like, no, I want this, no, I want this, no, I want this,
and not right.
And it's like, but you got to kind of go through that process, and you may have honed in on something right away, which is why you got hyper successful in that career or that thing.
Yeah.
But then in other areas of our lives, I think we can all relate to that. I've done that in other areas of my life. When it came to health, fitness, and training, like I was honed in on that from the get-go. But in other areas like marketing and sales, like I had to figure out different ways to market, different ways to sell, different ways to do this, that, and the other. And it was like abandoned ship when I started this project, and then started another project.
I think some listeners could maybe understand it this way. When you're in a relation, like if you're free, you're out of a relationship and you're out there dating, right? And maybe you decide I'm going to go out with 5 different girls, and like it's to your point, right? Where like you have all these options and you're like, oh, I like them all, and this is so great. Like but then you kind of hone in on like one person, and maybe you put all your energy and effort into that person, and you start to forget who you are.
Yeah.
And maybe you let go of some of your other relationships with other people, or you don't have your alone time or whatever. And then all of a sudden, like, that's not serving you anymore. So then you have to kind of pull back and say, okay, I love you, or I want to, maybe, whatever, but I need some time for myself. This is what I'm going to do. Do you want to do it with me? If not, let's go do our own thing. But then it's like, you kind of honed in on that one person after you had all those options. And then now you have to kind of come back to yourself.
Yeah.
You're always coming back to yourself. I mean, that's the alone time practice that you're putting down. Like, nothing beats the basics.
Right.
Like, there's nothing that beats a system, the X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3. I do these every day. This is always consistent. It may look different, but it's all the same. Your input is always consistently the same.
Yeah.
Whether it's a podcast, a book, or something or another one-on-one with somebody, it's like, okay, I know I'm going to get something out of this, but there's always just this consistent, like, nothing beats the basics.
Right.
I think you can look at anybody who's successful at anything.
Look at their habits.
They've always have the foundations. It's not big, audacious things.
No.
It looks big, but
It's small, consistent, but consistent.
Yeah, always.
So my last question for you, for anybody listening here, you talked a lot about like how your heart space is the important place to connect with.
Yeah.
What little advice or seed would you say to plant in their heart space to just get them going on this journey?
To get them going on the journey, I would say the seed would be the intention to connect with their passion. Like, just plant that seed. Like, who am I? Like, what really lights me up? And I would say that and gratitude are the two biggest things. I think, yeah. When you place that intention is so powerful. Like, we all know that it's everything. So the intention of what is it that I want? And again, if you ground and grow every day, you'll find it. You will, like 100%.
Got any other questions?
Yeah, I kind of want to add to that, like, have you expand on the gratitude side of things, because like that is such a basic foundational thing that, like, it makes a shitty situation awesome. Like, because you just see it opens up awareness so much. Like, you can be grateful for something as simple as this chair or the clothes on my back or anything like that, because like I'm sure that kind of fuels you with the charity that you're doing, right? It's like to have just a bag to give to somebody that somebody receives, and you see the gratitude because they don't have the few little things that we take for granted every single day. And it's like that awareness and that like that's wealth. That's like true wealth, is being able to breathe.
Yes.
Wake up and breathe and just go.
That's fulfillment.
From there, again, more so expanding on the idea of gratitude, but now like a question that I like to ask people. I don't know if I asked to do this on our one-on-one. Remove the name, remove the label, remove everything that the world places on you, that you placed on yourself. Who are you?
I love it. I would say I'm a loving, inspiring leader. I love being of service. I love creating. I love being. Like, I mean, I'm an expression, like we are all expressions of God.
Yeah.
God lives in all of us. And when you check your ego and just be and express and really moment by moment follow your intuition and your guidance, that's living life. So that's my expression, an expression of God.
Awesome.
Beautiful. That is a beautiful place to end. If anybody wants to find you, I'll have all your information in the show notes, but is there a place that they could easily go find you to learn about the Vision Project and also your nonprofit?
Oh, sure. So CarolynLitton.com has all of my contact information, including a link to my website. I'm a speaker, so it actually has one of my speaking sessions on there, and all my contact information, social media handles, website, all the good stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll put you in the show notes. And thank you, Carolyn, for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
And listeners, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We love you, and thanks for listening.